And this would fall, ladies and gentlemen, under decimals, adding and subtracting. With whole numbers. If you look in your notes when we talked about decimals and adding and subtracting, I think you probably would see that we wrote down 3 words. There's a phrase we use when we add or subtract decimals. Do you know what it is? Do you see it in your notes anywhere? Did you come across it? If you add and subtract numbers that have decimals in them, what rule do you need to follow? Frankie?
Dumbs?
Huh?
Dumbs?
No dumbs. I think that's division or something.
It would be gums.
When you add and subtract decimals, what rule do you follow? Trevor? You write them up and down, but I know we have this in your notes. You need to, I'll do this in scribble font.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if I can spread. Oh, somebody said it.
Line up.
It's already in my notes.
Line up the decimals. That's your rule. Maybe we'll do this just to make it. Oh, did I get it? Super big. Line up the decimals, which means this. Here's an example problem we had. Maybe it was 3.6 plus 5.23. If you add those, yeah, you have to write them up and down. But the deal was this. When you have that decimal there, every other decimal in the problem is going to line up with that. So I'm going to add 5.23 to that. You can always add zeros at the end. And in your answer, that decimal is going to line up there. So your answer ends up looking like this. Hopefully you've been doing that. But that's not what today's about, actually. I mean, it is kind of, but it's not really. Today, we're not just doing decimals. We are mixing decimals and whole numbers don't have decimals, and that's where we run into trouble. What if the problem I was given was this? 6 minus 3.4. 6 minus 3.4. The problem we have is that there's not a decimal in 6. How do I know where to line it up? Well, that's what our phrase today is going to be. And this is how we start the phrase. If a number does not have a decimal, like 6, Sam?
You add a 0.00 or 0.0?
Well, you can put as many points, but you have to remember the decimal goes at the end of it.
Yeah.
If you think about $6, a lot of times we can write $6 like this, or you could write $6 like that. Either way, the decimal, when there's no decimal, you always put the decimal at the end, and that's what we're going to write down in here. If a hashtag has no decimal, comma, you can add 1 at the end of the number. Emphasis on end. And you can always put as many zeros after it as you need to make it work the way you want it. Nice thing about decimals. Give you a chance to write that. So if I was doing this here problem, it would look like this. 6 point, and everything else is going to have to line up with that decimal. Minus 3.4. 0.4, and feel free to add, well, you need one decimal there, you could add 2 if you want, but that's kind of silly. And then it's just a normal subtraction problem. Decimal, don't forget to put your decimal in your answer again, they line up. 2.6 would be your answer. So if a number doesn't have a decimal, you can put it in at the end. Let's see, how about this one? 12 plus 1.2. Can I switch screens? 12 plus 1.2. What will that look like? Where's the decimal going to go in 12? Andrew, where's the decimal going to go in 12?
At the end.
Yeah, right here when I do the problem. 12.1.2. Put your 0 up there. Decimal's going to go here in my answer. That's why it's good to use those squares and stuff on your papers, because this needs to line up. If you get it crooked, you might get some things wrong. I don't think that this will. So my answer is 13.2. Here, let me give you one. Let me give you a really hard one to see if you can do it. What if I said 8 minus 6.54321? By the way, you should be able to tell me the answer. This almost should be mental math for you, by the way. By the way, some of you struggle with multiple borrowing. You kind of get into the rut. I've seen, yeah, you keep inching forward there, Frankie. That table is 6 inches back. I'm not sure what's going on here, but pretty soon you'll be right under the board. Did we get an answer? You seem to have an answer. Addie Clark.
1.45679.
1.45679. I don't know. Let's check if that's probably what it is. But so you have 8 decimal point. Everything's going to line up there. 6.54321000000. Here's how the borrowing would look. If I borrow from the 8, makes it a 7, that makes this a 10, but I have to borrow from that, making it a 9, making this a 10, but I have to borrow from that, making it a 9, making this a 10, but I have to borrow from that, making that a 9, making this a 10, boom, making this a 9. Now please, because I have all those 9s up there, I've seen some of you automatically assume that that one's going to be a 9, but you don't have to borrow from it, so it's actually going to remain a 10. 1 from 10 is 9, 2 from 9 is 7, 3 from that is 6, is 5, is 4, is a decimal point, is 1. 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9. Everybody got a firm grasp of